Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. I know you're all mental health nursing students out there, so
Absolutely.
today we're going to tackle a big one, DBT,
Yeah,
Dialectical Behavior Therapy. So much to learn in nursing school, right?
there is.
We're going to break it down for you, make it stick, so you can really understand and use this stuff.
That's the goal.
All right, we're using excerpts from a review article
Oh, cool.
by Dr. Alexander Chapman.
Yeah.
It's called Dialectical Behavior Therapy, Current Indications and Unique Elements.
Catchy.
Now, this article, it's for like seasoned practitioners,
Right, for people already doing this.
Yeah, but we're going to pull out the good stuff, the need to know for you guys as mental health nursing students.
Future nurses, yeah.
Okay, so why all the hype about DBT? Is this just a trendy therapy or is there something really special about it?
Oh, DBT's definitely earned its fame. It's not just a fad. It's got strong research behind it, especially for BPD.
Borderline personality disorder.
Yes, borderline personality disorder.
And the article even mentions that DBT shows promise for other struggles too.
Like eating disorders, substance use disorders, depression, and personality disorders in older adults.
Wow, so it's pretty versatile.
Yeah, wide range, right?
It really speaks to how adaptable DBT can be, but it's super important to remember that research is always changing,
Of course.
And treatment,
Yeah,
it's always got to be tailored to each person.
right, individual needs.
What works for one person might not be the right fit for someone else, even if they have the same diagnosis.
Okay, that makes sense. So how did DBT even come about? Did someone just invent it out of thin air?
Not quite.
Okay.
It actually came from Dr. Marsha Linehan's work with women who were very suicidal.
Wow.
She saw that the usual therapies weren't always working for them,
Right.
so she set out to create something that would really meet their needs, something different.
So what set DBT apart? What was the key?
Well, back then, a lot of therapies focused really hard on pushing change.
Like just fix it?
Yeah, and that could make patients feel like their experiences weren't understood or respected, like they were being invalidated. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's like telling someone who's drowning to just swim harder.
Right.
They need a life preserver first, some support before they can even think about changing their swimming.
Exactly. And that's where the dialectical in DBT comes in.
Okay, the heart of it.
It's this awesome idea of holding two opposite things at the same time, acceptance and change.
That's deep.
It's not about choosing one or the other. It's about finding that balance.
Ooh, I like that. So it's like a set of scales.
Yes.
On one side, you have acceptance, accepting the patient as they're acknowledging their struggles, validating their experience.
Right.
And on the other side is change, gently guiding them towards positive change.
Mm-hmm.
And DBT is all about finding that perfect balance point.
The sweet spot.
All right, so to really get how DBT works, we got to dig into the nitty-gritty.
The nuts and bolts.
5 key functions of treatment. Think of them as the engine of the DBT machine.
Okay, I'm following.
5 functions. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting for us nursing students, because knowing these functions can help us see the bigger picture of what our patients are going through in DBT.
It's all connected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So first up, we have enhancing capabilities.
Okay.
This is all about teaching patients those essential DBT skills.
Mm.
Emotion regulation, mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, and distress tolerance.
Those are the big ones.
We're going to unpack those more later. But for now, can you give us a quick overview? What does each skill involve?
Sure. Imagine giving your patients a toolbox full of ways to manage their emotions, to stay present in the moment, to build healthier relationships, and to handle tough situations without falling apart.
Wow, a mental toolbox. I like it. So they learn these awesome skills, but then what?
That brings us to function number 2, generalizing capabilities.
Right.
You see, it's one thing to practice those skills in a therapist's office.
Space.
Right. But the real challenge is using them out in the real world.
Where life happens.
Exactly. When those tough emotions and situations pop up unexpectedly.
It's like learning to ride a bike with training wheels.
Yeah.
You eventually got to take those training wheels off
Yeah.
and apply what you've learned on your own. But that could be scary.
Absolutely. And that's why DBT focuses on supporting patients as they take these skills from therapy into their everyday lives.
So important.
Okay, what's next? Next, we have improving motivation and reducing harmful behaviors.
Okay.
This is about helping patients figure out what behaviors are getting in the way of their goals.
So the things that are holding them back.
Yeah, and then helping them find healthier ways to cope.
So it's not about forcing them to change or judging
Or
them.
not at all.
Okay.
It's about collaborating with them, understanding their struggles.
Meeting them where they're at.
Yes, and helping them find their own reasons to change.
It's empowering them to take charge of their own recovery.
You got it. And then there's supporting therapists.
Okay.
This one sometimes gets overlooked, but it's so important.
I bet.
Treating BPD and other complex conditions, it can be really tough on therapists.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah. DBT recognizes that therapists need support too.
Self-care for the therapists.
Yes. So they can keep providing the best possible care.
That makes total sense. You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Exactly. If a therapist is burned out, they won't be able to show up fully for their patients.
Makes sense. And finally, we have structuring the environment.
Okay.
This one looks beyond the individual and says, hey, the environment can either help or hurt someone's recovery.
It's a big factor.
It's about the bigger picture, right?
Great.
Their support system, their living situation, their relationships, all the things that impact their well-being.
Absolutely. It might mean advocating for the patient.
Speaking up for them.
Yes. Helping them set boundaries or connecting them with resources that can support their recovery.
It takes a village.
It really does.
Okay, so we got these 5 functions working together like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
But what's the theory behind all this?
Good question. It's all based on the biosocial theory, which basically says that people with BPD are born with extra sensitive emotions, and then they often grow up in environments that invalidate those emotions.
So they're told their feelings are wrong or too much?
Yeah, it's like a double whammy.
Wow, that sounds incredibly tough.
It is. And as future nurses, understanding this theory can help you have more empathy and compassion for your patients.
Yeah, for sure.
It can also guide your assessments and interventions.
Powerful stuff. So how does DBT address this double whammy?
DBT helps people understand and manage those big emotions, and it teaches them skills to navigate relationships and tough situations in healthier ways.
Like giving them the tools they didn't have growing up.
Exactly.
Wow. I'm already seeing how DBT can be so helpful for people struggling with these challenges.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's really groundbreaking stuff.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here, but we're just getting started.
Right, we've only just scratched the surface.
Stay tuned for more DBT deep dive action.
Can't wait. Welcome back to our DBT deep dive. Last time we kind of laid the foundation, exploring those 5 functions of treatment and that biosocial theory behind it all.
Yeah, we talked about that double whammy.
Yeah.
People with BPD facing heightened emotional sensitivity
Right.
and growing up in an environment that didn't validate those emotions.
It's like being told your alarm system is broken when it's actually just super sensitive.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And DBT helps them learn to work with that sensitive system.
Exactly. Instead of always fighting against it.
Okay, so remember those 4 core DBT skills we mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
Emotion regulation,
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, and distress tolerance.
The Fab Four.
Let's break them down.
Yeah, let's dive in.
For sure, because these are the tools our patients will be using to build better lives.
Absolutely.
And the more we understand them as nurses, the better we can support our patients, right?
100%. So let's start with emotion regulation.
Okay.
Imagine giving your patients a toolkit to turn down the volume on those overwhelming emotions.
Ooh, I like that.
That's basically what DBT's emotion regulation skills do.
So it's not about suppressing emotions or pretending they're not there.
Nope.
It's more about learning to manage those big feelings.
Exactly. DBT teaches people to recognize their emotions, to label them, to understand what triggers them,
Okay.
and then to find healthy ways to cope before they hit that overwhelm point.
I'm picturing a patient who's learned to spot those early warning signs of anger.
Okay.
Like maybe their jaw clenches or their thoughts start racing.
Right?
And then they use a breathing exercise to calm down before things escalate.
Perfect example. It's like having a fire extinguisher ready before the whole house goes up in flames.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. What about mindfulness?
Okay, mindfulness.
I feel like mindfulness is everywhere these days.
It is.
But I'm not always sure I get what it means practically.
Yeah, mindfulness. It's like hitting pause on all that mental noise
Quieting the mind.
and just observing what's happening inside you right now.
Just being present.
Yes.
Yeah.
No judgment, just awareness.
So instead of spiraling with anxious thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
a mindful person might notice those thoughts, but then gently shift their attention to their breath or their body.
Exactly. It's about creating space between a thought or feeling and your reaction,
Okay.
giving you more choices in how you respond.
I see. It's like gaining a superpower, the ability to slow down time,
Uh-huh. I like that.
observe your inner world, and make conscious choices.
And that can be so helpful for people with BPD
Right.
who often react impulsively to strong emotions.
Okay, I'm starting to see how mindfulness can really change things for our patients.
It's a game changer for sure. Now let's talk about interpersonal effectiveness.
Okay, relationships,
Yes. This one's all about building and keeping healthy relationships.
which is so important.
It is. Think about it. If you're always battling inner turmoil, it's going to spill over into how you connect with others.
Makes sense. So interpersonal effectiveness is like giving our patients the skills to navigate those tricky relationship waters.
Yes, without capsizing all the time.
Exactly. It's about communicating your needs, setting boundaries, and handling conflict in a healthy way.
All while respecting yourself and the other person.
That sounds crucial for people with BPD
Definitely.
who often have a history of rocky relationships.
Right. They might go from being too passive to suddenly exploding in anger.
Yeah, big swings.
Interpersonal effectiveness helps them find that middle ground,
Okay.
advocating for themselves while still considering the other person's needs and feelings.
Seeking those win-win solutions.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in their relationships.
With family friends, even with us as their nurses.
Absolutely. It's about building more balanced and respectful connections.
Okay, I'm loving these skills.
Oh.
Now, what about distress tolerance?
All right, distress tolerance.
This one sounds a little counterintuitive.
You can't.
If a patient's in distress, wouldn't we naturally try to make it go away?
You would think so.
So how can tolerating distress actually help?
That's a great question. Here's the thing, distress, it's a part of life. We all experience it. And for people with BPD, it can feel like a tsunami.
Intense.
But distress tolerance isn't about pretending the wave isn't there.
Right.
It's about learning to ride it out without getting swept away.
Weathering the storm.
Exactly. And it involves a few key techniques. One is radical acceptance,
Okay.
which is like acknowledging the reality of the situation without fighting it.
Without resistance.
Yes, it's saying, okay, this is happening, it sucks, but I can accept that it's here.
That sounds tough, especially when the pain is so intense.
It is, and it takes practice. But radical acceptance doesn't mean you like the situation or you're giving up.
All right.
It's about choosing to accept what is,
Okay.
which can actually reduce suffering because you're not battling reality anymore.
So it's about letting go of that resistance.
Exactly, which can actually make the distress even worse.
I see. Distress tolerance also involves finding healthy distractions, right?
Yes.
Engaging in self-soothing activities and practicing self-care during those tough moments. So instead of turning to self-harm or other unhealthy behaviors,
Right.
they might take a hot bath, listen to calming music, or reach out to a friend.
Precisely. It's about having that toolbox of coping mechanisms ready to go when the emotional storm hits.
I'm getting it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered emotion regulation, mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, and distress tolerance.
The big four.
Powerful tools. But how do patients actually learn these skills?
Great question.
What does DBT look like in action?
That's what we'll explore next. We'll look at how these skills are taught and practiced in individual therapy group settings and even through phone coaching.
All right, welcome back for the final part of our DBT deep dive.
We're in the home stretch.
We've gone over the basics, the biosocial theory and those 4 powerful DBT skills.
Emotion regulation, mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, and distress tolerance.
Right, all the good
An
stuff.
essential toolkit.
Now let's talk about how it all comes together in practice.
Okay, the real-world application.
How is DBT actually done in a clinical setting?
Because knowing the theory is great, but understanding how it works in real life, that's what's going to make us effective mental health nurses.
Exactly. Give me the details.
Okay, so one of the key things to remember about DBT is that it's not just individual therapy.
Oh,
It's a whole package, a comprehensive treatment.
I like it. Tell me more.
Think of it like a multi-pronged approach, tackling those BPD challenges from all sides.
Okay, break it down for me.
So usually DBT involves a combination of things: individual therapy group skills training and phone coaching.
Okay, and each part has a specific role.
Exactly. Each one is crucial for helping patients build a more stable and fulfilling life.
Okay, so let's break it down. What's the purpose of each component?
All right, so individual therapy, that's where the patient gets that personalized attention and support.
One-on-one?
Yeah. The patient and therapist work together to figure out what behaviors to target, develop coping skills, and handle any crises that pop up.
It's like having a personal coach in your corner.
Exactly. Someone who understands your specific struggles and helps you tailor those DBT skills to your needs.
Okay, and then there's group skills training.
Yes. This is where patients can learn and practice those DBT skills in a safe and supportive environment.
With other people.
Exactly. They get to connect with others who are going through similar stuff, share their experiences, and learn from each other.
That must be so powerful.
It is. It's like a support group, but with structure and a skilled leader who guides them through it.
Okay, and what about phone coaching?
Phone coaching is like an extension of therapy, you know?
Okay.
It lets patients reach out for support between sessions,
Gotcha.
especially in those moments of crisis when they need help applying their skills right then and there.
Oh, wow. So they don't have to wait for the next session.
Exactly. It's like a lifeline.
It could prevent a relapse or things getting worse.
Absolutely. And on top of all that, there's a team of therapists who meet regularly to talk about the patients,
Okay.
offer support to each other, and make sure the treatment is consistent and effective.
It's a real team effort.
It is. Everyone working together to support the patient's recovery.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So as future nurses, how can we use this DBT knowledge?
Well, first of all, we need to be able to recognize the signs and symptoms of BPD and other conditions that DBT can help with.
So we need to know the criteria.
Yeah, and the common challenges, the typical behavior patterns.
So we can identify patients who could benefit from DBT.
Exactly. And then it's about understanding the basics of DBT, even if we're not the ones providing the therapy.
Right. We need to know how it works.
Yeah, what the goals are, what the skills are. That way we can interact more effectively with patients who are getting DBT.
Because we might see these patients in all sorts of settings.
Right, inpatient units, outpatient clinics, community centers.
Exactly. So understanding DBT helps us provide better care.
More informed and compassionate care.
We can reinforce those skills they're learning in therapy.
Validate their experiences and even advocate for them to get the right level of care.
So we're part of the team, even if we're not the therapist.
Exactly.
Right.
And, we might even be able to use some DBT principles in our own work.
Even if we're not doing full-on DBT.
Right? Like using validation techniques, practicing mindfulness ourselves, maybe even teaching some basic distress tolerance skills.
That's so cool. The beauty of DBT is that it's more than just therapy.
It really is.
It's a way of thinking, a way of being
a philosophy.
that can improve all areas of mental health care.
I love that. And honestly, I think we can all benefit from these principles.
Me too.
Whether we're working with patients or just dealing with our own daily struggles.
It's about being more compassionate, more accepting.
Having a deeper understanding of ourselves and others.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's inspiring to see the potential DBT has to change lives.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just the start of your DBT journey.
Keep learning, keep exploring.
Keep advocating for your patients. And if you want to go even deeper, check out Dr. Chapman's full article.
We'll put the link in the show notes.
Awesome. Until next time, keep learning and keep shining.
See you on the next deep dive.
Bye, everyone.